Hi, this is a video on creating just getting animations within your movement for Unity. So initially I've just created a platform with a 2D box collider. So when my character drops, they've got a platform to land on. And that's all I've done so far. And I've also got my own sprites, and you should have your own sprites as well. So I've set my units per pixel for this character at 16. So I'm initially just going to drag one of those idle animations in. And at the moment it will just be one single picture. And I'm going to rename this character to player. So once I've done that, let's get rid of whatever that is. Once I've done that, I'm going to add two things. I'm going to add a rigidbody 2D, and I'm going to add a box collider 2D. So that box collider is pretty big, so let's size this down. So if you go to the edit collider just here, we can click on this button and size down. There we go. Clicked on the wrong thing. And size down this box collider. Lovely, fantastic. So come out of that. So with the rigid body, this will apply gravity and this will apply collisions. So if I click play, lovely, cool. So next thing I'm going to do is I've already created a scripts folder. So I'm going to double click into that and I'm going to create a brand new script. And I'm just going to name this player. Cool. Once that's done, I'm going to make sure I'm clicked on player and I can drag my player scripts to the bottom of this inspector of within my player. So then I'm going to double click on the script here and this will open up the script in Visual Studio. It should do anyway. What's happened here? Double click. There we go. So what I'm going to do is initially we are going to call up our rigid body because that's how we're going to get movement in to our scene. So I'm going to say private and I'm going to call up rigid body 2D because that's what we're using, and I'm just going to call this underscore RB. The reason I've called this underscore RB is essentially this will tell me whenever I put an underscore, this will tell me within my methods and my functions that I'm using a private function and not a public one. So once I've done that, I'm also going to add another public method for, variable for speed, and this will equal 5f. Cool, lovely, fantastic. So the next thing we need to do is call up our rigid body. So we need to grab the component. So we need to say rigid body equals get component rigid body 2D with brackets at the end. So this will call up our rigid body within our player within the inspector. Cool. So once we've done that, we can go down to update and we need to grab the horizontal movement axis from Unity. So we need to give this a name. So we can just call this horizontal input, and we can say equals input dot get axis raw, and we can call this horizontal. Lovely. So the last thing we need to do is saying how we're going to move along with our rigid body. So we're going to use rigid body dot velocity because that's a part of the rigid body component, so you can move along with velocity. And we're going to say new vector 2 being the object itself, and we're going to move along with our horizontal input times by our speed, not new speed, times by our speed variable, and then we just need to say underscore RB dot velocity dot Y, because even though we're not moving along on the Y, we need, because we're saying vector 2, we need to be talking about our X, and then we need to talk about our Y. So what we're going to do is put a semicolon at the end of there and command and save that. Lovely. So once we've done that, what we should do is have a simple movement within our character. There we go. So we can move left to right. So at the moment we haven't got the animations in there, but that's something we need to just quickly implement. So what we're going to do, come out of play. And if I look at the rest of my animations here, cool, I've got another, oh, that's an idle preview, so I don't need that. What I'm going to do is go up to Window and go to Animation and click on Animation. Once I click on that, I've got this random tab that will pop up, and I'm going to put my animation at the bottom here. So don't worry about that it's covering up the game tab. This is what we need at the moment. So I'll just drag this down so we can see our player a little bit more. I might just zoom out as well. Cool. So what I'm going to do is, at the moment there's no animation object selected because we need to select something to animate. So we want to animate our player. So if I click on player, we can see that to begin animating the player, create an animator and an animation clip. Okay, we can do that. So let's make sure we get our folders all sorted out. So within our project, I'm going to right click, go to create folder and call this animation. Lovely. So once we've done that, I'm going to click on my player again, and this says to begin animating the player, create an animator and an animation clip. And as soon as I click create, this will create both for me. So I'm going to click create, and as you can see, new animation. So I'm just going to go into assets, into animation, and call this player underscore idle, and click save in there. Lovely, so this is set up for me, and as you can see, it's called player idle here. So what I need to do is go into those idle animations, and initially, you didn't see me do this, but I defaulted my pixels per unit to 16. So if I look at the rest of my frames, you can see, of my animations here, my idle animations, you can see that these are all at 100. So I need to change these. So if I change this to 16, click apply, go up to here as well, change this to 16, click apply, and click my final animation, and again change this back to 16 and click apply. Awesome. So once I've done that, I'm going to make sure I can see all of these frames. And click from one, hold shift, alright, so I might just hold control. So there we go. So I've got all of these selected. As you can see, it shows all of my frames selected. So I might do them in order. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and drag these in to my animation tab. Cool. So this has put all of my frames at the same time along each other in my animation bar. So if I press play, you can see that the animation is moving way too quickly. So what we need to do is look at our sample rate. So at the moment, this is moving at 60 frames. So this is why our timeline needle is doing its nut. So what we need to do is pause that by pressing the play symbol again. And if I go to, so I've got 4 frames. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double that. So they've got a bit more, these frames have got a bit more breathing space. Instead of just animating it every 4 frames a second, they've got double the time. So what I'm going to do is type 8 into my samples, press enter, and once I press play, there we go. I've got a real nice, smooth, idle animation happening there. So once that's done and that's implemented, what I can do is press play on my game, and my game tab will pop back here. And what I'll be able to do is move left to right and have that idle animation working. Cool. So next time what we'll do is we'll implement movement within running left and running more right with our player. Cool.